Using good questioning techniques and getting students to ask questions, really important, powerful method to support the learning process. You can look at those quotes there from Anthony Robbins. Questions, the way we learn virtually everything. Thinking nothing more than asking and answering questions. Well, yeah, it's a very powerful method, and you will have picked up that as you do demonstration lessons, asking students questions, finding out what they know, tremendously important for how you go about adjusting the pace of your lesson. And when students ask you questions, you know you've got good rapport with them, and if you can keep asking their questions, eventually they close the gaps in their learn. So, quick summary here. Questions will stimulate interest, get people thinking, build memory and understanding. And identifying what students know, and equally important, don't know, and misconceptions, tremendously important, because then you can make necessary corrective action. You can give them the feedback that they need specifically for where they're having some learning difficulty. And not only that, but it gets across to students that you are concerned for their learning. And a lot of this is subconscious, tremendously important. And feedback, fundamental. You're able to give them the feedback that they need at that particular point in time. And you get feedback about your teaching in terms of the pace, and you can reinforce key points. So let's have a look at some good practices. Well, firstly, be clear and brief and only ask one question at a time. Don't throw too many questions out, it will create confusion. Pitch the question at the level for the group. Use language that connects with them. Get to know your students, and this becomes a natural thing. Question type. Remember, there's open and closed questions. Closed questions are for very specific factual content knowledge checking. What temperature is needed for this process? Student knows it, doesn't know it. Open questions when you want students to do a little bit more expansive thinking. For example, if you're looking at safety in the laboratory, how might we make this process safe? And the manner is crucial. If you say, right, what do you think about this? How does this work? You use a kind of threatening tone, it puts people off. So use a nice expressive voice, relaxed, engaging, look at the students, use smile. Massively important. Remember, and I've seen many teachers make this mistake in many countries over many years. They'll say, anybody got any questions? Oh, no, good. Well, think about it. To answer a question, the student's actually got to firstly understand the question, think about whether they have an answer, and then be prepared to actually say it. So learn to cope with thinking silences. It takes a little bit of time before students will get comfortable in answering and asking questions. And again, make sure that you distribute your questions over time so that everybody has a chance to contribute. There's always some students who want to contribute more, and there might be some that don't want to contribute too much. Don't get too hung up on this, but just give them a chance to contribute over time. Okay, now responding to student answers, pretty important. Even if you think the student has responded in a kind of strange or odd way, always respond warmly. And make sure that your verbal language is equally calibrated. Don't say, oh, well, yes, you've had a good go there, but look at them as though they're idiotic. So, very important point there. And do deal with incorrect responses. Don't put the student down, we know that, but do make sure that there is a correct response to the question or the learning point that's being made. Some useful strategies for you: rephrase the question. Takes a bit of thinking, but if you can do that, you can usually get around the problem. So give the students some cues if possible. Well, how does this connect to that? Well, what about this? Does it mean this? Play around with these strategies. You'll get skillful over time if you're not skillful already. And finally, see if other students want to chip in, and that gets everybody off the hook, so to speak. And finally, if you can't answer a question, just be honest. Don't try to bluff your way out of it. Just say, no, I don't know. I'll let you know next lesson. Just get back to the person. So key things to do with questioning, really important, powerful teaching, learning